when that really started materializing and becoming real was when I just become a mom. So I was like, okay, I have like various inputs on this. No, that's not going to work. No, I feel like we need to do this. So I've really played part, obviously entrepreneur, but also part mom on this.
For parenting tips, celebrity interviews, recipes, conversations with experts, DIYs, and lots more. Subscribe to Kids Talk Press now.
Congratulations, another feather to your already full cap. How does it feel?
It feels very surreal. It feels very, I was saying this earlier because we sort of started with the story idea of Edamama before the actual brand came into existence. That there was a moment at time that I felt, okay, will the stories ever see the light of day? Even though you kind of put everything behind it, you just sort of feel like, oh, what if it falls off the tracks? What if it doesn't ever happen? And I was very keen it does, because it's really the core and the soul of the brand. And it's a world in itself.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that we're here today.
Yeah, and I see it as such a natural extension, because Edamama is built on storytelling. And now you're storytelling in the physical form of books. And I'm sure it'll see many different routes with visuals and videos and animation, things like that. Tell me, when you were working in films and you're writing a book, right? Both have a really large denominator effect.
Yeah.
You're basically connecting across so many, and that's the power of storytelling, right? When you are speaking at such a large scale, there you are an actor and somebody else is the storyteller. Here you are the storyteller.
The co-storyteller, yeah.
Yeah, the co-storyteller. How's it different, and how do you make sure that it has the same amount of appeal?
Actually, I didn't really think, and I knew from the beginning that children are a tough crowd, especially the kids that the book is aimed for, which is 5 plus. But I naturally felt that, if the book has enough values, if it has a certain connect to nature, environment in the world that we live in, and it's got a certain sort of tipple of like wonder and magic, it'll be good. So I didn't get stressed that, we're reaching out to which audience, what if they don't like it, or hopefully. In fact, I kind of have become so used to creating and hoping for the best in a way, because of the process of filmmaking in general is also a collaborative process, and you're all working towards one vision, and you put that out there and you just sort of see what happens with the product that you put out there. I didn't really anticipate feeling I didn't actually feel any sort of stress or nervousness while we were creating it, because we were just creating it, and it took a couple of years for it to happen. There was a lot of back and forth on like the length and how long it should be, and what is the level of conversation that we want to create in the book, how imaginative do we want to be, and how much of spoken word is it, and how much of it is imagination, and also how much of it is people connected, and what is the language, all of that. So there was a lot of back and forth on that. That's why it took so long. And finally we settled to this. So it's enjoyable for a child to read, as well as it is enjoyable for a parent to read to their child.
Yeah.
That's also very important, I think, when you're picking books out, because you're the ones reading it initially.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you want them to also sort of enjoy them,
and a million times over.
Exactly. Like I memorized so many books.
And if you skip a word, you'll be jammed, because they will pick it up.
Oh, really? Okay, I've not reached that stage
Okay,
yet.
you will. But what I love is that you've broken a lot of stereotypes, and my daughter actually pointed that out. She said, thank God somebody has written mom was working and dad was cooking.
Oh.
She was just so happy about that. She's like, thank God that somebody is breaking that. Was that intentional, or it was just organic?
I love your daughter's astuteness, because this is something that when I read the book, it's what so casually jumps out to me as well. And I can't take credit for it, because this was Vivek Kamath's addition. And it happened very naturally. But it's something that I feel so proud of, because in terms of the voice, or the collective voice, I think, of Edamama and the Adventures of Edamama, or the series, we want to very casually talk about things that are happening in our world, good and bad, or happy and unhappy. The essence of this book is technically a dog being rescued, but he got sort of rejected prior to the rescue. And we're not doing it in like a mean way. It's just
It's
not
inclusion.
It's inclusion. Yeah, it's not like it didn't work for someone. It's not like something that I feel like we're not painting any villain or anything in this book. We're just talking about things that happen the way they do happen, and every action has a consequence, and every, you know, human being or soul has a certain responsibility towards the world that they live in.
Yeah.
So it's just about tapping into that responsibility a little bit
Yeah.
and sort of leaving you with a thought.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying I do everything right. You
Yeah.
also necessarily, but not
Yeah.
like, okay, we do it all right, but we have a
Yeah.
certain conscience that we feel like, okay, we should try at least to do it right.
Absolutely. And you know, when you I read about the values that you've spoken about the book, and I often, every time that I've interviewed so many people, and you know, women, men of power and influence, I always wonder that when you are in a position of power and influence, how do you choose what you're going to lend your voice to? Because to me, your brand, to the book, to everything that you do, it just it just seems like a natural extension
Yeah.
of you. So how do you choose and pick what you want to lend your voice to?
I think your instinct will sort of lead you there. That's what it is. I genuinely believe if you try and be a voice for something that you don't naturally feel passionate towards, it won't stick. So if it sticks, then you know it's for you. Or you know that, like you said, it's a natural extension of yourself. And you'll see it through.
Right.
I find anything that is not a priority just falling off my list, or
Yeah.
not something that's speaking to me, just falls off. It's even the way I choose my scripts. If it's not speaking to me, and it's not like it's bad or whatever, it's just
Yeah.
not speaking to me. So it could speak to somebody else. It just falls off.
Right.
It just, yeah.
Tell me stories that have shaped Alia, stories that you read as a kid or somebody's read them to you, which have become, you know, they just stay with you and they kind of shape the person that you are. It could be childhood, it could be school life, it could be
Yeah.
any.
So the way I was as a child is very much how I am now, is that I would spend a lot of time in my head. And no matter, I was surrounded by my mom, who was a big reader, my sister who was a big reader, my father was a big reader. And literally my mom and sister would shove books down my face every day. Being like, read this book. Finish this book this week. You have to at least finish one book this year. I never did it. Because I was like too busy dreaming and like wanting to be outdoors or wanting to be by myself and just like play acting, enacting, talking to myself, talking to things. So that's what I put into the book as well, is that the girl is a bit like, she's a bit of an oddball. People find her a little strange because she thinks the crow is talking to her, but
Yeah.
the crow is actually talking to her. And I wanted it to feel like very natural and relatable, that sometimes you feel like a bit of an oddball, but it's who you are,
Yeah.
and that's the ball that you are. You
Yeah.
know.
But any story that's like stayed with you and you feel like that story is always the one.
So I would say my grandfather, and I've said this before as well, is that my grandfather spent a lot of time making stories up to me, and that's the story that's my favorite. And not and by story, I mean that memory of him
Narrating those stories.
narrating the stories to me is my favorite.
Right.
Of it coming out of here and coming out of here, and it's all these little, I'm not even sure if they were really children. It was like 3 characters, Chunnu, Gunnu and Munnu, and they would always go on these adventures, and everything would always come like to a big huge mess, and then they would have to all fix it together. It was something about teamwork, something
Yeah.
about innocence, something
Yeah.
about things getting a bit messy sometimes, but it all finally being like a happy ending, you know, in a
Right.
way. And that's, I think, stayed with me the most. It was a certain level of wonder that was introduced to me as a child that I think I still have.
Right.
In fact, I have it so much that if I have any free time, you'll always just see me writing different stories. I don't complete them, but I write it, and then I like, so like people like around me, like Ranbir or my sister, they really encourage me, like, you know, see it through, write it, see it through.
Yeah.
And then this was the only one that actually sort of came through. But you should see, like, even in the lockdown, I used to constantly write these.
But those
this
incomplete
story.
drafts,
Incomplete.
I'm sure, will make it somewhere someday.
Yeah. Like dialogues, proper scenes, and like proper. And I'm like, then I just leave it because that's not my day job.
Yeah.
It's not like something I see, like
Yeah.
whatever.
But that's an
this-
outlet.
It's an outlet.
Yeah. But tell me, now that you're a mom, do you feel that your day job and being an entrepreneur sees a different shade of you.
Yeah.
There's a different filter. Like, I just feel like I feel more responsible. I feel like, you know, just a different sort of filter to everything. You're touching a fabric and you feel like there's a different filter. You're seeing a design, you're seeing comfort, style. Do you feel like there's a different filter to you?
I do think there's definitely a different filter to me as an entrepreneur now because of Edamama, and I'm now looking at it more from a consumer's point of view as well, not only the founder and perspective, but there is, yeah, I you know, I get this question a lot saying, how has it changed you? I know has changed me. I'm not able to describe how it has changed me because I still feel like the change is just ever evolving.
Yeah.
And every month, every week, you know this now, of course, is like a new discovery, and the relationship is also changing. And right now, Raha's still very little, but I still feel like there's so much change. Then there was like maybe 6 months ago, I'm like, oh wow, it's like totally different feeling, a totally different dynamic. And time is also flying so fast that there's no real understanding of like really sitting down and be like, oh, I've changed like this.
Yeah.
But responsibility, yes. Awareness, yes. Also, how aware I've become as to how I'm sounding so much more like my mother.
That's a favorite.
Day by day, I feel like I'm becoming more and more like my mom.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get that. How do you make the time to find that bedtime reading?
I don't.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But it's like books everywhere, so it doesn't matter.
Firstly, now I'm so exhausted prior to bed. Like, it's just like I fall asleep.
You're only 30.
Yeah, but I'm 31. But I'm exhausted. I fall asleep on my way to the pillow. And I literally sleep very early. So I'm like sometimes falling asleep while watching a movie, which is very bad, very, very, very bad. Or while watching some content while I'm at home. But it's very clear I've become super boring and I sleep at 10.
Okay, I'm not the only one. Disclaimer, like people will laugh when I say I go to bed by 9.
No, and then 9 is too early.
Yeah, but then I'm like up super early. But coming to literally the last bit of it, if you have to talk about tips for raising readers because you resisted it, your sister was a reader, what do you think your mom did right or wrong, and what are you going to take from that?
I think there's nothing that you can do right or wrong. It's what eventually your child, whether you like it or not, has their own mind and own desire and own thing that take them where they're taking them. So Shaheen naturally was more of the reader, and Shaheen's a writer. She wrote a whole book.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that I am doing, but I was naturally more in my head. I am more of like imagination, visual, creative, energy, storytelling, collaborating, people, nature, out there. Random, like, and I feel very grateful that my mom let us, even though she would keep telling me to read, she let us both kind of be.
Yeah.
To a certain extreme, of course, she was very thinking about discipline and sleep and timing and punctuality and eating nutritious food and being active and all those things. And those are basic things that I feel like you need to do. But you start them young, but if they're not going to take to it, they're not going to take to it, and maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe they want to spend more time outdoors. But I think, like, for me, at least so far, it's been 19 months and I've been reading to Raha every night. Either me or Veeran, we read like maybe 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4 books. And I literally currently find herself, hugging her books to sleep.
You'll feel so happy.
I feel so, like, I find it so, then I also feel worried because I'm like, I don't want books, like, you know, like she's literally like that, sleeping.
Trust me, that doesn't change. And I hope that doesn't change because I think the best craft that we can give our children is the
books.
the books, right?
And it's the only thing I feel like, oh, I wish I was more of a reader because I think the imagination just can become tenfold, but I just don't have the patience. I mean, so I do sit and read on holidays. I make sure that, okay, on a holiday, I finish at least 1 book.
Right. And tell me, who's a better storyteller, you or Ranveer? Like those imaginative ones. Like I used to crib because my husband would come out with like Raju the giraffe, and here I'm trying to read Harold and the Purple Crayon and trying to be all intellectual, but the kids enjoy Raju the giraffe more.
Raha's still very small, so currently we're just still reading books.
Yeah.
We're not like creating stories from scratch. I did try once, and she was a great listener at that moment actually, which was also like 6 months. So
like,
I'll
okay,
try
whatever,
again now.
so long as you're in front of me.
Yeah. I don't like, I mean, I feel like both of us have our own like Ranbir has like he doesn't really stick to the page. So he like add his own sort of
Yeah.
layers to it. I stick to the page, but I add a lot of like voice and like I do different voice modulations. I think we both have our
Interesting.
own unique ways of telling,
Yeah.
reading a book to Raha.
And tell me what happens next? Like, do we see a series of books?
Yes.
Do we see the books back in stores with
Yes.
prints on?
So currently it's available online and at bookstores as well. But the intention is this is the first book of the series of Adventures of Edamama, and my intention is to release 6 books and then take those 6 stories and make it into like an animation series and test the waters with that as well. And of course, then how each of them does, like the possibilities are endless. I also have to like specify that these books are printed on FSC certified paper. That's something I'm very excited about. And it's,
yeah,
I
but
think
that's
it's pretty
again an
cool.
extension. No?
Yeah,
of who you
exactly,
are.
of the brand. Yeah, so this is the plan. 6 books and animation series, hopefully, fingers crossed. It all happens. So I like to say my plans out loud
Yeah.
because then it's like, okay, I've said it, now I need to make it happen.
I was the only one who does this rubbish,
Yeah.
but okay. It's,
Yeah.
and anything else that you would like to add as things that Ed is going to have in terms of the merch, in terms of the store?
Yeah, so I think the idea was to, of course, bring this, because it started with storytelling, bring the core of the brand really out there at its forefront. And we've got a lot of plans this year for Ed. Stories was the first thing that we just wanted to do. And we're going offline as well. We already have started slowly with various pop-ups and, shop-in-shops, but we're going to go offline with our own standalone stores.
Amazing.
And that's something that we're all gearing up towards because it's really, about experiencing the world of Edamama all in one space.
Yeah.
Personal care, baby personal care is also
Interesting.
next on the agenda. A lot of work is happening on that simultaneously as we speak. Very excited about that because when that really started materializing and becoming real was when I just become a mom. So I was like, okay, I have like various inputs on this. No, that's not going to work. No, I feel like we need to do this. So I really played part, obviously entrepreneur, but also part mom on
Yeah.
this, creating
Tell
this.
me, you think it's
particular
important
range.
for an entrepreneur to go through the problem to find the right solution?
Oh, 100%. I feel like even like when I launched the Edamama maternity range, it came from, and maternity in Ed is doing really well. It's doing really, really well, but it came out of a dearth from my own wardrobe.
Yeah.
So it came so naturally to me, and I feel like if it's happening in your wardrobe, it's possibly happening in other people's wardrobes as well, and that's what we see on a day-to-day basis when we're selling. So yeah, very important. Also, you really live and learn, or learn and live, like the
Yeah.
other way around. And then of course we're going to have a non-apparel range as well, whether that's toys and home,
Yeah.
bed furnishings and stuff like that. That's taking much longer because it's also crucial that the material that we used is all made sustainably and also has a sustainable, long-lasting effect on to the environment. So yeah,
That's amazing. You have a lot happening.
yeah, I know. I don't want to be over excited and enthused about each and everything that's happening because
But
I've
it's
always
an extension. It's your baby, right?
I
so you
know,
are
but
supposed to be excited about
yeah,
it.
and of course, but I've also always wait until it actually happens to be fully excited. Until then, it's always you're just sort of running a really tight rope, and you need to make sure it just all comes together.
Super. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was an
a great
incredible
chat.
conversation. Thank you.
For parenting tips, celebrity interviews, recipes, conversations with experts, DIYs, and lots more. Subscribe to Kids Talk Press now.